I went to the cinema today to go see Violent Night, the new Christmas action comedy film directed by Tommy Wirkola, and I wanted to give my review on this movie. So, going into this movie, I already knew what it was going to be, and what I was expecting was complete Christmas schlock, complete, nonsensical action, popcorn stuff just for fun, where you don't have to think at all, and it's just one of those kinds of movies, and I was right. I was right. That's exactly what Violent Night is. The issue is that when you're dealing with movies like this, which are really in many ways B movies, they sort of are hit or miss. Some of them can be legendary, like the old canon Chuck Norris films and the mid 80s schlock sci-fi movies. Those are some of my favorite films of all time. And this movie follows along with that. But like I mentioned, when you're dealing with schlock, sometimes you're going to end up with something that's, let's just say, less than great. And I feel like Violent Night, after thinking more about it, it really is kind of a thumbs down film. There's things I did like about it, but it certainly is one of those films that is better if you go with a group of friends. Maybe you're a little drunk or you're a little high or whatever. Doing that can be a fun experience, but if you're just going to the movies with like your family or by yourself, honest to God, it's really not worth it if you ask me. It really isn't, and I'll explain why in a minute. So, David Harbour plays literally Santa Claus. Now, in the trailer, I thought it was a guy who was dressed like Santa, but no, they established at the very beginning of the film that he is Santa Claus. But, of course, it's Santa Claus with a twist. This Santa Claus has been burnt out from delivering gifts all year. He has been, he has an alcoholism problem. He drinks. He, is having kind of a rough Christmas. It's one of those kinds of movies. And it's one of those things where it's supposed to be funny, but it winds up being too much of a try-hard movie. Now, on the other side of things, we have John Leguizamo, who calls himself Mr. Scrooge. He's the lead villain of the film. I haven't seen John Leguizamo in a lot of films lately, but he did the best he could here, but the material itself is pretty bad. There are two major problems with this movie that I want to talk about. First of all, the script. The script is a complete mess, sorry to say, and it's also extremely predictable. I feel like that was like one of the major issues, with this film. But the other major issue was Trudy, the character of Trudy played by Leah Brady. This is one of those characters that's supposed to be it's a trope at this point. The little girl who believes in Santa Claus and everybody else tells her Santa's not real, but Santa is real, and this movie proves it in the film universe, and she's the one that still believes. The issue is that she comes off extremely annoying in every scene that she's in. She doesn't have that child actor charisma. Whenever she's on screen, the film legitimately feels like a low budget, Cinemax 2 a.m. film. It doesn't even feel like something that's, worthy of even being in the movie theater, and she really brings the film down. Now, what you're going to go see this movie for is obviously going to be Santa Claus being extremely violent, because Santa Claus, the plot of the film is that John Leguizamo and his team are going to rob this wealthy family, and Santa Claus gets caught up in it and has to become like an action hero with a sledgehammer and whatnot. And what you're going to go see this movie for is the kills and the gore and the cheesiness. The issue is that I did not feel that the cheesiness was really executed correctly. I've seen a gazillion canon films and movies from the 80s with Arnold and Sylvester Stallone and all these great actors, and I know what these movies are like. And this film just felt like it was trying so hard to be that, but the writing was in no way clever. It was in no way, Santa kept saying, oh, you've been acting naughty. That was like the recurring joke over and over again before he took out somebody, before he killed one of the terrorists. And it really started to get played out. Also, there's a few scenes in this film where he's destroying these dudes. There's like these army-like trained military guys, and Santa Claus just chewing through them. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the way that the sequence is shot, it's really, really dark, so you can't see anything. Like, it's dark, you can't really see what's going on. You just hear the sledgehammer and the splattering of blood, because it is a gory film. And that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. Now, again, I want to reiterate, I'm usually a fan of these kinds of movies. I appreciate the low budget canon B films, but this one I felt was just not, like, I laughed about 3 times. There was a couple of funny things here and there. It was trying so hard to be that I felt like it came off like a wannabe B movie. Would that make it a C movie? Matthew Weston, the cinematographer, really needs to look into how he's doing this, and I'm not sure if maybe it was a thing where the violence had to be toned down to get the, the rating or whatever low. They didn't want it to be, they wanted it to be accessible in the movie theater, and that could be why it's like that. Also, if I were to compare this movie to other similar Christmas films, there's no question that there is for sure inspiration here from Home Alone and Die Hard. This film is Home Alone meets Die Hard. Unfortunately, it's not as good as either of those two films. But when I say Home Alone meets Die Hard, you have to understand there are scenes in this movie that are literally ripped. There's one sequence with the little girl and the criminals that feels like it was literally, it was literally ripped right out of Home Alone. It's the same exact trap that was used in Home Alone. And we see this, and it just comes off like they're trying so hard to be like a modern Home Alone that it feels more like Home Alone 3, which is a big disappointment compared to Home Alone 1. And that, to me, is the ultimate problem with the movie. There's things in the film that don't make that much sense. There's characters that I find are just there for no reason, don't do anything. It's a very sloppy movie, and I understand that some people love it, and that's fair. I did not like this movie, dude. Like I said, I like films like this, but this one, after seeing it once, I'm not thinking about it when I walked out of the theater. I have no, urge to ever see this movie again. There's actually a really dumb scene in the film where there's a storyline with this couple, this wife and husband, and they've been having marital issues, and there's a scene where they're in the middle of this sort of hostile takeover of their home, and they just start making out near the end of the film to give us that big kissing scene, that that reunion kiss of the lovers. The problem is that the movie does not make us care about either of the characters. In fact, the way they wrote these two characters, I don't like either one of them. Jason and Linda, I do not like these characters at all. They're not very likable. Linda comes off very obnoxious and annoying, and Jason comes off like an idiot and a selfish moron. Like, these characters are just not likable. The only likable character in the movie is Santa Claus, because you can't really make Santa Claus a bad guy. So, overall, man, I'm going to give this movie a not recommended. I don't think you should go see it. Maybe if it's on streaming, you can watch it on there if you're bored. But there are so many better Christmas films, action films, and schlock films out there that you can see above this one. Like, this one just basically takes the energy of all those movies and tries to replicate them, but I think it does it in a weak way. I thought the movie was pretty weak. I know some say it's, enjoyable and this and that, but I don't know. I feel like it's not really that much of a classic. I mean, yeah, it did take every Christmas trope and turn it into a battle weapon in the movie, but outside of just David Harbour's performance as Santa Claus, which was good, all I can say is it just wasn't that great. It's not a film I recommend. That's my opinion. So, what do you think about Violent Night? Let me know. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.